Supernatural Season 14, Episode 8, Byzantium. Definitely an interesting episode. I mentioned in my last review that I thought Jack probably will die. I assumed he would actually end up going to the empty, which ends up not being the case because the rules on his soul actually being split in two, he ended up being picked for heaven rather than being tossed to the empty. And I thought that was a cool concept for this episode because with him dying, my whole prediction based on the last episode, I was like, I don't think he'll die. And then at the very end, I was like, oh no, he'll definitely die because he has to go to the empty with Lucifer. And then because Jack is so insanely powerful, he'll end up waking up on his own, or maybe Lucifer will wake him up and find him, and then they'll both end up escaping again because Jack is kind of just infinite. That doesn't end up being the case, so he ends up going to heaven. We have the empty basically going into heaven as well and kind of tracking him down, like, I feel like he belongs to me. And I thought that was cool. I had always assumed that, considering Jack is a Nephilim, I just kind of always went on the concept of once you're not human, you go straight to the empty, and that's pretty much it. But it's more based on the soul, and of course the fact that a Nephilim, by nature is half angel, half human. Half of him does deserve the normal, kind of human afterlife, and that's what he got. And I was like, well, that's actually super cool. I like the concept of that, and then the empty being upset that he kind of, it kind of didn't get what it deserved. So it chases down Jack, and Jack actually goes to see his mom, which I thought was a cool sequence. It's really funny seeing that actress in this, and I've mentioned this a million times, I'm sure. Whether it's Supernatural or any of the other, especially the comic book shows I've reviewed, everyone is always in everything on the CW. Like, I wish I was an actor for the CW, because as soon as they're dead in one show, they're just like, hey, we need you over here for like 2 seasons or something. Like, the actress that plays Jack's mom, I can't think of her name in the show right now. She was in like the entire last season as one of the villains for Legends of Tomorrow, and she's in this season as well as like a kind of reforming villain. And it was just funny, like, as soon as I saw her picture, I was like, I can't think of her as this character, which she was in this show before she was in that, and it's like, I can't think of her as this character anymore. All I think of is that's Nora Dark, like Damien Dark's daughter from Legends of Tomorrow. And it's super funny. And in the last episode, the actor that played Michael in the last season of the show, before he went into Dean's body, he was in Legends of Tomorrow in last week's episode, or I guess it was actually this week's episode. And I was just like, they just bring everybody over from everything, and it's just the funniest stuff watching that sometimes. So it was funny watching this episode because I'd seen her so much. I think she was in this episode, or this week's episode of Legends of Tomorrow too. She was in this week's episode as well, or it may have been the last one, but it's just like, man, I can't see some of these actors as the characters they're supposed to be anymore, because they always have them just like, oh, you're dead here, just go over to that show and stuff, and they they jump back and forth. So it's super funny. But aside from that, and my own personal thing, because I watch like everything on the CW, it was good. It was a really cool moment, and her like seeing her son growing up, and then of course that realization sets in, like, if I'm in heaven, I'm dead. Why are you here and stuff like that? So she was upset, and he tries to calm her down, so they spend some time together, and we find out that of course it is kind of the spirit of the empty. I think it actually does have its own name, or maybe like even the entity is the empty. It's all just the empty. Excuse me. But it was really good. I was like, all right, this is very interesting, and it's kind of going after everybody, and it's kind of screwing up heaven. And then the angels are, when Cass actually goes, the angels are kind of like, hey, maybe we should kind of just let Jack go, because we don't really care that much. It's the angels at this point. This show is like, the angels in this show are like the worst angels in anything. It's just like, they just don't give a crap. I'm surprised they haven't done more on the whole angel quantity levels, because when that one angel was dead, I was like, oh, they're down to like 5 now. So I'm surprised that storyline hasn't really played as big of a factor in this season yet. But I'm like, all right, they're trying to keep the lights on. I thought it was just the normal thing, like they don't have a lot of angels, so hell, I was about to say hell, but heaven, is kind of running low. I just thought that's what it was. Like, it's just not enough angels to kind of keep things going. Turns out it was the empty chasing them down, which is super fun. I love the empty, like, as a creature. Like, of course it always depends on the actor, but in this episode it was super fun, because when they got to the end and we find out that the empty actually took over the other angel, whose name I totally can't remember, because I suck at like the characters that show up every once in a while. But when it showed up as her, and it was like freaking out, and it was like, I'm owed this and stuff, like, I love that scene. Like, it was just, it was really interesting watching it, because it wasn't just angry. It was like, it was sad that it had to have that emotion or something. Like, it was like, I deserve this. And then Cass is like, well, just take me. Like, I'm the one that initially escaped, so why don't you let Jack go? You can have me later. And I thought that was such a great scene as well. It was like, you can take me. It was like, well, I'm not going to take you now. I'm going to let you be happy, and I'm going to let you kind of forget this little transaction that we're having. And when you forget about me and forget about, you stop worrying about when it's going to happen, that's when it's going to happen. When you're super happy and you're finally just calm and relaxed, I'm going to come take you. And that's pretty much all there is to it. And Cass is like, I agree. So I think they got the next season set up. If I'm throwing out theories, that's pretty much like season 15 is already in the pipeline. They somehow defeat the empty, which who knows what that would mean. Everything comes back, nothing comes back. I don't know, but I'm like, that's got it. Unless they just throw that into the second half of the season and then they end up using Michael to fight the empty. I'm just like, yeah, that's next season. That's what they got. It's gonna be next season. So we'll see how that plays out. It might not be the main thing for next season, but I'm just like, it easily could be, and that's what they want to do. So they kind of set that up already, like down the pipeline. It's like, all right, boom, there's that little pinpoint. We can pick that for any season in the future, and they got it now. But thought that was a really good moment. It was like, all right, I like that scene, and like I said, just in general, the insane nature of the empty, I really enjoy. Like, it's very frantic, and it's like, I'm not supposed to really be awake. I'm kind of just, everything's just kind of relaxed where I'm at. Like, it sucks. There's nothing. You're going to be asleep. I'm going to be asleep. It's nice. It's nice and just calming. And then when it's not, it freaks out. Like, it just can't truly process everything normal. And I love that idea. I'm like, I like that concept. It's almost like a Joker-esque sort of quality where it's just like, it's just crazy. You don't really know where it's headed, or there's not really much of there's a like sense of a plan, or there's like a very simple plan. But other than that, it's just like raw, insane emotion that switches, at the drop of a hat. So love that ending segment. And of course, ultimately they do end up getting Jack back, and that kind of ties in a little bit to the character that they brought in. Once again, can't remember her name. She was literally in one episode, so I at least have an excuse for her. But we find out that she's aged because she stopped using magic, and we find out that she didn't want to perform the magic because she had one sliver left of her soul. And it's like, well, if I get rid of that last sliver, there's no chance I could possibly end up in heaven. So I thought that was, even though it was like a really minor thing, and she was never like a big character or anything like that, I thought that was still a cool storyline. And they have it where she's trying to see her daughter in heaven, and then when she decides to help Sam and Dean basically get their child back, she ends up sacrificing that last little bit of her soul. And when she dies, she ends up going, she ends up going, I believe it was Osiris was the one that they were going to. And he he does the abacus thing again, and he ends up allowing her to go to heaven. So I was like, well, that's kind of a nice little ending for a character that I really didn't care that much about. Didn't really mean much of anything to me, but it was like, that's a sweet, nice little ending for that character that's shown up like once. But I definitely thought it was cool. I definitely thought that was a nice way to do it. And then of course, Jack is back. The team is all back together and they're rallied. I must have not been paying attention, but they mentioned like they now know where Michael is, and I was like, when did that happen? Because that may have been in the part of the empty saying a bunch of random crap, and I'm like, I don't remember them talking about that, but apparently they know where Michael is, and I was like, all right, well, let's see where Michael really is. So we'll see what happens there, because I'm looking forward to that reveal. Like they think Michael's somewhere else, and I don't know, maybe they'll try to summon him. That would be really funny. Like they try to summon him, and I don't think they've ever done this, but if someone is possessed but the demon is hiding and they're summoned, would that person, like, would they be teleported without the angel or demon, I guess, waking up? Like if they didn't know there was something dormant within them, that person would be summoned, but they would still just be them, wouldn't they? Or I guess that's something they could write, because I don't remember that ever happening. But I think that would be fun. That would be very interesting. Like they just do the summon and then Dean's standing next to them and then he just disappears and then he's in the circle. That would be fun. I think that would be an interesting thing. And then it's like, it's still Dean and he's like, well, what the F is happening? Because obviously I'm not Michael. Michael can't be in me because he's not controlling me. And then they have to figure out how in the world that's happening. So maybe we'll get to see something weird like that. I think that would actually be really cool. In all honesty, I think that would be super fun if that's what happened. Like they do the summon to get Michael and then Dean just ends up transported into the circle. That would be super sweet. So we'll see what happens. But all in all, that was a fun episode. I don't know what's going to be happening in the next one because I'm watching all my episodes online because I don't have cable anymore. So I watch all my episodes late. So I don't know what in the world is going on in the next episode, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. I assume that they'll be going after Michael because, the way they kind of ended things, that just makes sense. Like, hey, go after Michael. I hope we see more Nick. I hope we get some stuff with Michael. I don't know what else they're going to end up doing. I mean, they mentioned some of the other elements that they kind of have to go after, so maybe we'll see some of that stuff. But all in all, fun episode. You know, Jack technically died. We got some cool content from that. The Empty was kind of brought back into play as an entity that actually can go into other places. Because I'll be honest, I was completely shocked that it was even allowed to leave wherever it is and actually go to, Earth, or go to, heaven and Earth. Or I guess it was technically just in heaven, but I was really shocked by that. I was like, oh, I didn't think it would be the Empty. I thought it was going to be like something totally new. And it was like, nope, it's the Empty coming after Jack. And I was like, well, that's interesting. So the entity itself is allowed to leave. Like, it is the ruler of that domain, so it's allowed to kind of come and go as it sees fit. And I feel like that's an interesting concept for them to introduce. And it's like, there's a lot that they can do with that. Like, they might end up making deals with the Empty to officially get rid of Michael and weird stuff like that. So I'm like, a lot of cool concepts were kind of brought up with them showing that the Empty, the entity that controls it, is allowed to kind of come and go as it pleases. And we haven't seen it on Earth. It was in heaven, so that could be a different set of rules or something. They can make up whatever they want. But I would assume if it can just jump straight to heaven, it could probably just jump, straight to Earth, because people can go from, Earth to heaven, so why not? And, vice versa, and go to purgatory, all those good things. So I'm sure it can easily go wherever it wants, since it's kind of the leader there. So looking forward to what they end up doing with that. I'm waiting for Michael to come back. Honestly, they said that we were going to get more Michael, or, Angel Dean. And we've still, at this point, had one less episode of Angel Dean than Demon Dean. So I'm like, they better front load, or, kind of backload the season with a bunch of stuff where Michael, regains control over Dean. And it better be like, at least like 5 more episodes need to have like just Dean being controlled by Michael again, because that hasn't been a big part of the story lately. It's mostly been focused on Jack and stuff like that, or little side stories coming up here and there, which this season's been really good. For them to not have been focusing on what I was kind of looking forward to, which was once again a new version of Dean. We got 2 episodes and then he's like, Michael's gone. For that to have been the case, I've really enjoyed the season, because they haven't really been focusing that much on the main story. When you like really look at the episodes, it brings in like some stuff matters, because like Jack definitely matters as a character, but it's not really like progressing much of the story. Like, the main real story is, what is the villain doing? What's going on with Michael? We haven't really seen anything about that for like quite a few episodes. We've seen some of the results, but we've learned nothing from it. Like, we haven't really gotten any information on what the heck is happening or anything like that. So they kind of haven't been focusing on it. When you like really kind of look at it, like do a deep dive, it's just kind of been the results. And it's really only been like 2 episodes of that. It was the Jin, and I can't even remember what the other episode was actually about that, showed the results of it. But it's just like, yeah, there's been like a couple things here and there, but still a bunch of questions up in the air. But I'm still enjoying the season, especially these last couple episodes. What's going to happen with Jack? The Nick stuff obviously is just fantastic. Like, that's just really good. I can't wait to see what they do with that. But still a fun episode. Looking forward to the next one. Naturally, want to know what you guys thought about this one, so please put your comments down in the comment section below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts, and I would love to know what in the world you guys think is going to end up happening with the entity that rules the Empty, and how that's going to start playing a factor, possibly in this season, but going forward for sure. I'm like I said, them having that deal kind of play out is like, that's easy pickings. It's just like, boom, that's a full season in itself. Them trying to protect Cash from the Empty. How do they fight this sort of thing? What happens if a human is killed by the Empty? Does it just die and go to heaven? Is that a weird, rebound for purgatory? That I think would be an interesting concept, where it's like, this thing is meant to be a void, so when it kills someone, it kind of wipes away the normal concept, but they still end up in purgatory or something. I don't think they'll do that, but I feel like that'll be a cool concept. But who knows? They got a million options for this thing. So we'll love to know your predictions on how you guys think the Empty will start to play more of a factor, especially with the Lucifer thing. We know it's going to play some role in this season, unless they literally don't go back to that, which they will not do, because that would be really bad writing. So we know it's going to play a part in this season later on down the line. But we'll love to know your predictions on how it'll play out, what effects it's going to have, what you think it'll do in future seasons, if you even think it'll get that far. So definitely put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, thanks for watching.